Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 683, recorded the weekend of August 13th. I'm your host, Patrick. We didn't have a new screenshot this week, but we do have a lot of news to get to. We'll be doing the show by myself this week, unfortunately, but we'll have some fun and go through a producer's letter. We have another a first preview of Update 56, so a whole lot of stuff to cover. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are already available within a few days of recording. Next show will unlikely be next weekend, but we should have one the weekend after that. As I said, on the podcast this week, bunch of interesting game news coming down the pike. We'll get into some. It'll be a little bit of Update 56 Preview 1 dropped, and that's going to be a little bit higher of a level. I don't intend to get into the weeds as much, and we'll kind of unpack that reasons why that comes up. But there's some stuff that I am looking at doing a more in-depth look at a future time, not right now. We'll kind of give you the highlights of what looks like is coming in that. With that, we'll get into some game news. So we had a week off. Wasn't able to get a show in last week. Update 55 patch 4 released Thursday, August 4th. And that was mostly about hardcore. So the things that it changed was that Hound damage over time and vulnerability effect stacking now has an internal 5-second cooldown, which prevents stacks from accumulating more quickly than intended. Living Hounds no longer follow players from wilderness zones into quests or from quests into wilderness zones. It is still possible for a Hound to spawn in a new area if you are still being hunted. Effect is on you when you enter a new area. So a little bit of a... You can get out of the quest, you can not have to deal with one out of the quest. Hound scripting has been adjusted to prevent situations where hounds do not become attackable after spawning and to make them attackable after a few seconds if they find themselves in that state. Scripting has also been adjusted to prevent new stacks of hound damage over time and vulnerability effects from being added to players if the hound is not attackable. So a bunch of that stuff, what was going on was hounds would activate, right? So you get the howl and one is coming. Well, there was a problem in that it was starting to... The hounds were starting to do their dotting and vulnerability stacking before they were actually attackable, which was not intended. They're supposed to be... they're supposed to start that after they become attackable. Now, some people found this to be, hey, this is kind of a nerf to the hounds. Well, yes, because they're not dotting you as fast initially. However, this is the intended behavior. We'll say, mileage may vary in this regard. I have certainly had some hounds start dotting right away when they became attackable, not when they were supposed to be. So, just everywhere. Hounds still hurt and can kill you. Hounds will no longer spawn in a few more areas where they would cause issues. They will no longer loop teleport home when in deep water. I don't know if that means you can kill them, or if they're going to, like, if you get a hound in deep water, or you kind of SOL and you can't kill it, that could be a problem if it's dotting you. Hounds will no longer leash in certain dungeons, and Fire Reaper Wings will no longer earnestly allow the display of Hardcore Season 6 wings. So that was the update there. This week, we got a producer's letter. So Tolero, the new producer, as of this year, had mentioned before that she wanted to do more regular communication. So we have a mid-year producer's letter for August of 2022. Tolero writes that she has had a lot of fun watching everyone play Isle of Dread expansion content so far. After all this dinosaur hunting, now we're going to turn the tables with an updated rule set for the new season of Hardcore Permadeath League, a dangerous game. Kind of know all about that. She wishes everybody good luck. And reminder that the Season 6 of Hardcore will run until the morning of October 24th. In Tulera's last producer letter, she mentioned new character build options that would be coming later this year, and today she's here to share more with you about our plans. Archetypes are a new way they're adding soon to play a class type. So, for example, you can play a cleric, but now as the cleric archetype called Dark Apostate, which takes a darker look at the traditional cleric role. These archetypes can be almost anything. They can have different enhancement trees, spells, feats, special abilities, and past lives, and are meant to explore tons of unused design space for the existing classes. They've done some of this in the past with universal enhancement trees, but Archetypes gives much more room to create into, and they expect to see the debut of many more archetypes in the future. The first set of 3 archetypes to debut in Update 56 are as follows. And we will talk about this more, again, at a higher level in a little bit. We're not going to go through this like line by line of the enhancement trees and stuff like that. There's some things still changing. But we'll do a more deep dive into archetypes in the future. Probably a little bit before they come out to live anyways. So, Dark Apostate. This undead sharded channeler focuses on negative energy and darker magic. Stormsinger Bard. This archetype focuses on the magic of music along with sonic and electric focused spell casting. And Sacred Fist, a paladin. Play a hand wraps using paladin that combines ki with holy energies. Glitter encourages you to try out these new archetypes on the Lemania Preview server, which was open this week. Update 56 also gives the opportunity to take a fresh look at our classic adventure pack, Temple of Elemental Evil. They'll be making some changes to the heroic version and also adding support for legendary levels. We've heard from you over the years about some of the tougher and more confusing parts of Part 1 and Part 2, and we'll be breaking these up into these exceptionally long dungeons into a series of smaller quests. Now you can make progress in the temple without feeling like you have to go back to the drawing board if you can't get through it all in one sitting. They're also going to look at some of the more difficult boss encounters, looking at Zuggtmoy specifically, and updating the entrance to the temple, among other things. Expect to see this work soon on Lemania. So, yay. Well, this is what people were expecting with the classic pack getting some love. I think people were expecting more of a not D&D quote classic pack as much as a DDO pack that has been around for a while as a quote classic pack. But yeah, so we're gonna look at. Hey, that sounds great to me. Temple of Elemental is long, and that is the primary reason I do not run it. It is just too damn long. Especially if you want to do the full version of the Part 2 in order to get the extra chest at the end. Woof. Yeah, not super fun. So, I'm excited to see that. The Zuggtmoy fight is pretty difficult. Man, I kind of don't think they're gonna do this, but I would love to see them redesign that as a raid. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Temple isn't the only classic DDO thing getting some love. Tolera's excited to tell us about changes coming in September to the Crystal Cove event. This work will make it easier for players to get into Crystal Cove, and they have identified some changes to improve performance during the event. First, no more gathering treasure map pieces and waiting around for the mining challenge to open. Instead, you can simply open the door to the Cobalt Challenge as long as the event is running and you have a treasure compass to enter. You'll be able to turn your old map pieces for doubloons. Speaking of doubloons, you'll find them randomly in chests while the event runs, and you'll have a chance to get a treasure compass whenever you defeat new, quote, ghost champions that can appear in dungeons whenever the event is active. We'll have more information on Lemania and elsewhere as we get closer to the event. So this looks like there's a theme here, and the re-envisioning of these events. So it's going to look very similar to the new Snow Peaks Festival and the new Night Revels. You do stuff you're normally doing. You find special champions in there, kill them, take the stuff, and can go do things. So that's kind of fun. The letter concludes, looking later into the year, they're working on a new adventure pack for Update 57, then it continues the story of Peril of Planar Eyes. Morgrave University has learned more about the Planar Eyes, and so has the Hidden Hand, the cult in Eberron that now worships Vecna. Race against time to claim the remaining planar eyes and learn more about the secrets of the Codex of Infinite Planes and thwarting the plans of others seeking the same treasure. Players can also expect the typical seasonal events of Night Revels and Festival to round out the year. Thank you for reading, and we'll have a new letter when we're ready to unveil their plans for 2023. My traditional lousy prognostication. We have been told that Update 56 is planned to release during the hardcore season. So with that in mind, I expect it to come maybe mid to late September. Update 57, they're talking about with Night Revels. Maybe, well, we can expect those to happen. So I don't know. Update 57, probably, maybe in time for Night Revels, but maybe more like November-ish. That's kind of some guessing there. With that, we saw Update 56 on Lamania for the first preview this week. So they had Archetypes on here, which is kind of the big thing. There's also some other information that was kind of exciting. The character bank UI has been updated with new functionality and performance improvements. You will begin with the same amount of character bank space that you had on your account before the release. If you do go look at this on a future Lamania or look at this Lamania, there was some stuff where it doesn't always remember your bank spaces because of you're on a different server or your character hasn't done stuff on that server and replicating favor issues. Like, it's kind of a little weird. However, the intent here is for us to have the exact same number of bank spaces that we have currently, and for us to be able to get more in the future in an easier manner. I did take a look at some of the stuff that people were posting about the bank. It does look pretty exciting. It looks like we'll be able to put stuff into nameable tabs, and sort things how we want to sort them a little more. So that's pretty exciting. Looking forward to that. Some bug fixes coming down the pike. Familiars from Feydark Illusionists and Falcons from Falconry now remain active while you're dead. Yay! No more having to reactivate when you get raised. Some issues with the familiars, no longer spawning, falling through the world, no longer spawning Tice and then exploding. They will also no longer block mouse selection. Thank you, that's annoying. The single weapon specialty now correctly applies in all situations. Again, this is for Update 56. Fury of the Wild's Destiny Mantle now persists correctly through logout. The Shadow debuff from Shadow Dancer now properly tracks one stack at a time. Good. Unyielding's Lay on Hands no longer prevents you from using it based on your charisma score if your con score is higher. Oops. Let's see. War Chanter's Ice Edges no longer drops on lockout. Nerve Venom in Shirati no longer has an erroneous DC. Good. Sunblade should now respect two-handed fighting rules more accurately. Let's see. Resurrection no longer erroneously requires 20. What? US Resurrection no longer erroneously requires 20 levels. It is now 30 as intended. Not exactly sure what that means. Tabaxi's dex damage should now work correctly in animal form. Weapons without an ability score modifier to damage no longer show a negative base damage rating. Perfected Darkstorm Helm now has a caster level. Help with the clicky there. Let's see. The camera has been adjusted such that the mouse look will no longer occasionally turn your character 180 degrees and make you look up or down. Please, yes, make this work. Kind of annoying. Party and guild chat disconnects should no longer take as long to reconnect. I'm not exactly sure if that is intended to address kind of the long-standing chat issues that have been going around, or if that's supposed to be just in general. A large variety of text bugs and inconsistencies have been fixed. Thank you, Linnabel. Gameplay changes. And again, this is intended to come during Hardcore Season 6, so keep that in mind. Great Weapon Aptitude, which is found in many racial trees, now allows natural fighting as a prerequisite instead of just two-handed fighting. This will help all those bear druids out there who do use strike through, but would not normally take two-handed fighting. Kyber Dragon Shards no longer drop. Recipes that use Kyber Dragon Shards now use Siberius Dragon Shards instead. No word on if you'll be able to convert them. Eldritch Knight dice now work on shields. That's kind of fun. See how that goes. All level versions of the Abishai set is now profane instead of an artifact bonus. So that'll help it stack a little better with other things. There are 3 new gameplay options. First, gather trap parts. Defaults to true. While true, disabling traps will cause you to gather trap parts from them. You can turn this off to stop gathering trap parts from traps you disable. Yay. I have enough, thank you. I love that it's going to be optional, right? Do you want trap parts or not? That's great. Experimental tumble controls default to false. While true, pressing block while moving will cause you to tumble instead of causing you to block. Continue to hold block, you will end the tumble in the blocking state. So if I understand this correctly, we are on true currently. They're going to default it to false. I guess so that when if you tumble, you stop blocking during that tumble, which could cause you to lose some AC or defenses or something like that. I have kind of always liked being able to tumble because you can move farther. But I guess make it an option? Sure. Disable full character effect overlays. Default false. While true, full character effect overlays on your character will be disabled. Affected visuals are Stone Skin, Bark Skin, Gold Skin, Fire Shield Cold, and Fire Shield Hot. There are also 2 new spells coming. True Seeing Mass, casting True Seeing on yourself and your allies. That is a 8th level cleric and favored soul spell. Freedom of Movement Mass, cast Freedom of Movement on yourself and nearby allies. A level 7 spell for cleric, favored soul, and druid. That's fun. Reaper Crafting. The costs are going to be reduced to 75 fragments. Currently, it's 100. Also, you may now dissolve Reaper items at the second Reaper NPC at any amount of Reaper points. However, crafting ingredients still requires 50 Reaper points. That's a big thing. That means if you don't have enough Reaper points yet, if you don't have 50, you can still dissolve them and get the Reaper fragments. Before, you had to have 50 Reaper points to even do that, which was a pain in the butt. So it's getting cheaper, it's getting easier to use. However, Reaper Crafting will no longer accept level 1 or 2 items. This means that Keep on the Borderlands Heroic will no longer be a viable place to farm Reaper fragments. War Chanter Ice Edges now scales with spell power. House Shade favor buffs now give a Give Me the Works option that charges the total plat you'd get from just clicking them all individually. And House P favor buffs now last 60 minutes. So 2 things here. 1, House P already has a get all. 2, I believe both of them are actually at the 60-minute duration. So that'll be great. I don't even think they're adding cost to it. There's just 60 minutes. Which is great because they go down they tick down while you're in public areas. It's not just in quests. Fred can now combine Dragon Shards for you. Please be faster than a Stone of Change. Please. Spells that may target undead friends, like Inflict spells, can now validate the caster as a redirected target. So you can cast targeting the caster implicitly as long as the caster is undead. So that'll be nice. The spells Bless, Prayer, and Bane all now have cooldowns of 10 seconds. This has to do with one of the archetypes because the new cleric archetype will actually be able to turn those into damage-dealing spells. The Winter Hunt buff from Nature's Warrior Core 5 now grants +5 cold spell crit chance and +15% cold spell critical damage. I'm not actually sure off the top of my head if that's up or down. ASMR and Scourge Core 3 no longer provides a bonus to Healing Hand charges. Asimar and Scourge Core 5 no longer provides a rechargeable ability to healing hand charges and now also provides +2 healing hand charges. So they won't recharge anymore. Bummer, but also I don't typically find myself using them all. I think this ends up putting you at the same. And now also provides +2 healing hand charges. I thought it already did that. I'm not sure that it's 2 more or what the total number is going to be. Long story short, healing hands getting a bit of a nerf. You will have fewer of them, I think, and you will not have them recharge. Angel of Vengeance core abilities no longer provide bonuses to caster level and max caster level. That's going to really dampen some of those spells. Those are you get a bonus to caster level and max caster level with Nimbus, Light, Searing Light, Sunbolt, a couple other spells as well. So that damage is going to be going down. Base attack bonus is now capped at 25. Tiefling's Incinerations are now +2% and +3% fire spell critical damage. What was the number? I think you're losing 4 or 5%. You're losing some there. That's going down. Holy Smite, Order's Wrath, Chaos Hammer, and Unholy Blight now deal 1d6 +4 damage on caster level. That is also going down. So a lot of little nerfs there. They're kind of trying to pass this off as not hardcore related, which is mostly true, but also hardcore is kind of exposing a bunch of these things. So that's kind of why they're going down. Here's some good news. Completionist is now automatically granted upon reaching level 3. Current characters with the Completionist have been given a free feat respec token. So you don't have to take it as spend a feat on it anymore. You just get it for free. Yay! Let's see. The XP bar on the character sheet has been removed to facilitate archetype and class displays. If you would like to view your character's total level progress, you may rotate through the available XP bars by pressing the XP bar toggle at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen next to the and symbol. I mean, okay, cool. I kind of like, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. I always use that to see where I was total level-wise as opposed to where I was kind of progressing in terms of action points, but I don't know, this is going to be a big deal either way. All right, so this takes us to archetypes. So we're going to cover this at a high level. I'm not going to go really deep into the different trees, but we'll kind of cover what each one does and some of the stuff that it's giving and kind of a summary, not a we're not going to go through the enhancement trees. We'll link to these in the show notes so you can go look at them if you'd like. They're also, they're on Lemania in the forums there. So archetypes. So what is an archetype? An archetype is, in short, a specific and unique type of a way to play a specific existing class. The explanation gets easier if we actually use an archetype we've built to explain. So for this example, we're going to use Dark Apostate. Dark Apostate is a cleric archetype. That means if you see an ability or something that requires you to be a cleric, Dark Apostate qualifies, as you are a cleric first and a Dark Apostate second. It also means that in the party window, you'll see yourself as a cleric, and in the Who menu and the LFG window, you guessed it, you're a cleric. What Dark Apostate has that other clerics do not is different enhancement trees. Dark Apostate has 3 cleric class trees: Dark Apostate, War Priest, and Divine Disciple. Note that it does not have Radiant Servant. This is a big part of what makes an archetype an archetype. Their trees are different, so the builds that use them will be different. Archetypes are not just one different enhancement tree, though. They can have different class feats. For example, a Warlock archetype that has new pack choices or limits your pack choices to something thematically appropriate. Different spellbooks. So a Bard that focuses more on illusion spells at the expense of its sonic options. Or replace more than one tree or all of them. For example, a Druid that is a pure caster and forgoes its ball-shaped forms. And even different alignment restrictions. For example, a Paladin that would very much like you to not be lawful good. You can multi-class into an archetype or a regular class just like you can with regular heroic classes, but You cannot multi-class an archetype with its base class, or another archetype of the same class. So, a cleric archetype and a fighter would be okay. A cleric archetype and a fighter archetype would be okay. However, a cleric archetype and a different cleric archetype, not okay. You can only be one kind of cleric, or whatever class you have. Archetypes will have their own past lives that fit in with the current heroic past life system. If your majority class is an archetype, you will earn an archetype's past life. An archetype past life counts as a prerequisite for the heroic active past lives feats of that class. Furthermore, an archetype's past life will qualify someone for heroic completionist, assuming they haven't already earned it. So, if you have one copy of all heroic class past lives done on a character except for cleric, you would be able to qualify for the cleric portion with either the base cleric or the dark apostate. This means as they release new archetypes, heroic completionists won't be removed from players that have already earned it, and new options will open up for players still on that journey. Finally, with this release, heroic completionists will become automatically granted to characters that qualify. We talked about this. Yay! Let's see. Why archetypes? There are a lot of great reasons why they've decided to go this route. They'd like to talk through some of them to help explain why they're angling in this direction. 1. Making new classes is hard, both technically and design-wise. There are only so many D&D classes in the books, and the ones that are left retread old ground considerably. They'd never be able to make Class 16 without significant overlap with existing character options, something that feels bad from a design perspective or worse from a player perspective. Tons of great design space is locked up already, and they need a way to go back and fill in the gaps. Technically speaking, this is a lot better than making new classes for a lot of reasons due to how DDO's engine functions. There's a ton of work to get a new class up on the LFM panel, for example. With archetypes, they simply do not need to do that. It prevents the UI from becoming bloated in a variety of places. It also prevents player information overload. Rather than having 30 classes, sticking to the current 15 means they're still easily recognizable at a glance UI-wise. Third, this allows them to revisit design space that the existing classes touch upon and give it the love it deserves. An existing class sort of supports an archetype. This is a way for them to build that idea out and give it support in a way that doesn't mess with existing builds and archetypes. 4. Archetypes are easier to build than regular classes, which means they can release more of them more frequently. It also means they can do weirder things with them. If ideas don't pan out design-wise, we're not wasting years of work on a risky idea that doesn't land. They can take more risks, which feels great for them, and will likely turn out some insane and unbelievable results. Yeah, players are usually pretty good at that. 5. Archetype gives us a great way to schedule revamps and retooling of existing class features. They've historically had a hard time pinning revamps down to a set schedule, but this gives them a great way to order and organize the class initiatives. For example, and they'll talk about this later, Dark Apostate releases alongside a revamp of Divine Disciple. For building an archetype, it's a great time to show up other parts of the class they're building on since it all fits together into one cohesive whole. 6. Archetypes are an experiment to see if they resonate better with players than new universal trees do. Universal trees are a struggle to design because they need to appeal universally across many builds, and these are the exact opposite. They want to build narrow, flavorful, high impact, and interesting options that players can choose from compared to universal trees that everyone can access on top of an existing class split. This definitely isn't to say they won't ever make more universal trees, but for right now they're trying this new direction to see if it lands better. I think mine is going to vary in that. There is some interesting stuff here, so, are players going to like it better? Boy, that's a tough one. I haven't seen anyone coming out and saying, hey, these are amazingly better, which is also probably a good thing. If they were just way better than the class base, that would be problematic. But I also don't see anyone saying these are going to blow anyone's socks off, so we'll have to see, I think. So, the release schedule. We're planning on releasing the first set of 3 archetypes in a single batch this summer. So it's update 56. So we've kind of covered those before. Dark Apostate, which is Cleric, Negative Energy, Evil Magic using Undead Shrouded Necromancer. Storm Singer, Bard, Sonic Cold and Electric Storm-based spellcasting. Sacred Fist, Hand Wraps using Paladin that combines Ki with Holy Energies. They're trying to cover a variety of playstyles in the first batch, and will continue to spread outwards as the feature develops and players get used to the idea. It's worth noting here that the goal is not to make sure each class has an archetype to start. They will instead be aiming for archetypes they think that will be fun to build and play with. It's possible, likely even that a class will end up with 2 or even 3 archetypes before a different class gets its first. Sure. So, the big question, how do players actually choose an archetype? What's the user experience like? In short, when you select a class during character creation, a side window will appear that will contain the base class again and its archetypes. So, you pick Cleric, for example, and then a side window appears with Cleric default selected, and under that, unselected will be Dark Apostate. If you choose Dark Apostate, you'll start the game as 1. When multi-classing into an archetype, you'll talk to that class trainer, and you'll be asked if you'd like to multi-class into the base version or archetypes. If none are available or you're ineligible, then you'll just skip right to the leveling up part that we're familiar with. Think of it like an optional landing page. When selecting another player or viewing your own character sheet, archetypes will be displayed in the class breakdown. So, for example, you would see Dark Apostate 18, Monk 2. Since those monk levels are just regular old monk, no archetype is displayed. But since those cleric levels are an archetype, that archetype's name is displayed instead. This is where it gets really fun. You can swap into an archetype during a lesser reincarnation, but not during the epic reincarnation releveling process. You won't need a plus X heart to swap levels during that lesser reincarnation. Swapping into an archetype during a lesser reincarnation won't count towards class swap totals and doesn't require class swaps to perform. Cool. So it's their hope that players look at archetypes the same way that they do, as a feature that is absolutely full of potential and a way to get funky fresh with the existing classes in a way that isn't intrusive or overcomplex. They want to bring the coolest and most unique stuff out of the books to the game, so players can experiment, refine, and explore these new and unique options, and they're just fun to design. So, some questions that kind of came up with this. First thing, these 3 will be free. Don't know what that means for feature archetypes, but the first 3 will be free to play. You will not need to buy them in any way, shape, or form. I expect that some in the future will either be gated behind expansions or favor or just the store or whatever. Let's talk about this in iconics. Existing iconics are locked to the base classes. You can perform a lesser reincarnation to change to another archetype. Again, it doesn't need to be a plus, it can just be a +0, but you need to reincarnate. Future iconics could, hypothetically, start with an archetype. Iconic heroes start with their first level in a particular class for all of the iconic types that exist. That is the base class, and that will continue to be true with Update 56. So, a Tiefling Scoundrel will always start with 1 Bard level. It will not have the option for Storm Singer and character creation. However, if you perform a lesser reincarnation of any kind, you could change into a Storm Singer Bard. When they introduce new iconic hero types in the future, these could potentially, for instance, start with their first level as Stormsinger Bard. Let's see, not in the case of archetypes. If your next level while reincarnating needs to be in a class that has archetypes, and it's the first level you're taking that class, it will ask you to pick either the base or archetype. So, let's say you're a Tiefling Scoundrel, 2 Bard, 13 Cleric, base classes for both. You perform a lesser reincarnation of any plus. You would arrive at character generation, and it would step you through Bard and ask if you want to be a standard Bard or a Stormsinger. You could select Stormsinger instead of Bard. After leaving the character generation, you end up in reincarnation area, and your second level is a Bard. Now you're in the Stormsinger archetype, so the next level will be a Stormsinger Bard level 2. Next level, you'd have to take Cleric. As it's your first Cleric level, the trainer would ask if you wanted to be a standard Cleric or a Dark Apostate. You could then select Dark Apostate and would carry on with the remaining levels in Dark Apostate, ending up at 2 levels of Bard Stormsinger and whatever levels of Cleric Dark Apostate. So, hopefully that makes that fairly clear. It sounds like the UI will be fairly painless. The big idea with archetypes is you can't mix archetypes and base classes of the same class. You can only be one kind of cleric, not a base cleric and a Dark Apostate. Have to be, you only pick one route to go in with that. So, Dark Apostate. So again, we'll kind of do this as a little bit more high level. Dark Apostate is a cleric archetype. Instead of automatically preparing cure wound spells, Dark Apostates automatically prepare the inflict wounds spells. The past life is +5 negative healing amplification and +5 negative spell power. That will stack 3 times. They have a new tree, Dark Apostate, that replaces Radiant Servant. The themes are dark healing and evil magic, negative energy, undead control, and destruction. So, what can you find in the tree as an example? Again, not going to go through this line by line, but we'll give you some highlights here. So, in the cores, you get to be undead. So, very similar to the Pale Master, where it is giving you you assume the form of a shadow, it looks like. At least that's what they're calling it. There are not various versions of this. It's not like you can pick an undead or whatever. It's just an undead form. However, there are a couple things in here that will work with any undead form. I had mentioned this earlier, but so Bless, Bane, and Prayer can now deal evil damage. You can turn your favored weapon into a negative or an evil damage on hit, kind of like the Eldritch Knight stuff and some other similar things. So that's kind of what you can find in here. There is the ability in Tier 3 to use favored weapons with Wisdom for their attack and damage. So if you're interested in doing that, definitely do so here. Yeah, there's definitely some potential here. I don't know about it being like super castery type. I think it might play better with War Priest and kind of melee Killer King a little better, but I'm not sure. See what people come up with. There is also let's see if I can. Right, so the Divine Disciple tree, they're kind of rehashing with some multi-selectors and to either going light or dark. So if you want to be taking negative energy stuff, you can do that. Or if you want to stick with the light stuff, you can also do that. That's kind of the biggest change in the tree. Yeah, this is all still kind of changing a little bit. So again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but there's a lot of multi-selectors in Divine Disciple now. They're also looking at so there was kind of a thought process maybe about having War Priest kind of be the place for fire and spell casting, but that kind of went away. They're trying to figure out kind of a more equitable SLA situation. So they're kind of trying to figure some of that out. There is also trying to buff Unholy Blight, Holy Smite, Chaos Hammer, and Order's Wrath. There's a multi-selector Benediction, which allows you to just do the full damage regardless of what the alignment is of something there. So, and then they're kind of looking more to expand this to be either kind of elemental or light or dark, kind of an idea here. So that's kind of where that one's going. Looks kind of interesting. I think people will be kind of excited to play a different version of Undead. This is, an Undead Cleric has been a conversation piece for a while. I don't know that it's going to totally change a whole lot of the meta or anything like that, but I think we'll see some people running around with it. It looks kind of fun. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what people can come up with this one. It looks fairly comparable-ish to some of the stuff from Pale Master, but again, Pale Master is a lot more versatile in what it can do. There's a lot more options, whereas this one is it's deciding for you that you're going to be a shadow, so you just get a bunch of up to 25% of incorporeality and concealment. It's kind of what it's doing for the negative for the undead form is doing for you. It's not doesn't have as much versatility as like the Pale Master one does. All right, so Stormsinger is the second one. So changes from the base class. Every level gets a new spell that is a electric damage spell. So they now get Shocking Grasp, Electric Loop, Lightning Bolt, Ball Lightning, Chain Lightning, and Thunderstroke. They don't actually lose any spells here. The past life will be +5 lightning and sonic spell power per stack. Feels better than the base class by a fair margin there. Well, the base classes, I think it's like +2 enchantment, something like that. I don't remember it being that great. This is a little interesting. So it's Stormsinger is going to replace the Swashbuckler tree. Now, the reason why this is a little interesting is because when you start getting into things with Spellsinger and Stormsinger and the SLAs that are available in Stormsinger, there's a lot of overlap. So like Sonic Blast and Reverberate and Shout are in both trees. So that's a little weird. But this is intentional. It's there. They're adding multi-selectors to Sonic Blast and Shout. So in the Spellsinger tree, you can now choose Cure Light Wounds or Cure Light Wounds Mass. You can't take Sonic Blast from both of them. Also, they mentioned that they buffed Reverberate a little bit, so that's kind of yeah, it's a little weird. It's really also kind of weird that the SLAs that are available here are either Sonic or Cold. So you're really looking at doing 3 kinds of damage. You also get lightning strikes that trigger off of your Sonic and Cold spells. So this could be interesting. I have to say that I'm marginally concerned that this might be a little too good. Spellsinger bards are actually kind of I don't want to say mainstream, but not necessarily esoteric either, but a build for running heroic lives. They can move pretty fast. Although you won't be able to deal with this because that is in the Swashbuckler tree, the speed boost. But they get a lot of the Sonic spells are sneaky good because they're AoE very early, which is not typical of lower level spells. So it'll be interesting to see. That's right. This one also, Stormsinger does actually have in his tree the run faster for each level of Bard. So you actually can still get that. This could end up being a pretty potent caster choice. Now, they did kind of come back that this needed to lose something. Linnabel recognized this is going to be unpopular, but there was a lot of feedback that Stormsinger is too good, and it wasn't losing anything. So, Stormsinger will no longer get the upgrade feats for Inspired Courage and Bardic Aria as it levels. This means that it will not get Improved Inspired Courage, +1, 2, and 3. It will not get Ballad Melody Greatness. It will not get Inspiration Melody Heroics. They hope that the loss of a significant chunk of its buffing potential helps Stormsinger fit into its role as a DPS caster bard without stepping on the support aspect of base bard. A little weird to say, and that when you're actually actively stepping on the support part of it. Having said that, not thinking this is not going to be a huge loss here. I think Fire Courage +3, so you're losing a little bit of damage. An attack there. Greatness and heroic. Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be that. I think this will still be a pretty popular caster option. And will probably work fairly nicely in the space of not a melee bard. So that'll be kind of nice, I think. All right, the third tree, Sacred Fist. So this is a paladin archetype. So things that are added. You get an armor class bonus at levels 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, and 20. This version scales off Charisma instead of Wisdom. If you're a part monk, it will use the highest of Charisma or Wisdom. You'll get Fury of Blows, Unarmed Strike, all of the versions at 1, 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. At level 2, they'll get Evasion. However, they will not get Improved Evasion except as a tier 5 in the Sacred Fist tree. Path of Light. This is a first level feat. This is the Hand Wrap's deity feat. As with all deity feats, it grants proficiency with its weapon, in this case, Hand Wraps. Divine Dream at level 6. This is the special deity feat. It makes you considered to be in heavy armor while centered for the purposes of Sacred Defender tree. It does not let you be centered in heavy armor. They are removing Sacred Fist Paladins do not get shield, armor, or martial weapon proficiency of any kind. However, they do get hand wraps because of Path of Light. They will get key ability off of Charisma instead of Wisdom. However, if you are part monk, it will use whichever is higher, Wisdom or Charisma. The past life will be +5 healing amp and +5 positive spell power per stack. Stacks up to 3 times. I expect that will be fairly popular. In the trees, you get your melee attacks while centered will deal extra fire damage. This is the Sacred Flame kind of theme. There's +1 dice all over the place here. It's really about punching and fire damage. There's also some things that you might... Oh, this is replacing the Knight of the Chalice tree. There's also some stuff you might expect here of plus hit and damage with favored weapons. Hand wraps are your favorite weapon in this case. So that'll kind of pull in here. There's a lot of similarities to Shintao's tree in here. A lot of plus Sacred Flame dice. Even change it to light instead of fire, which will make it more punchy. I'm actually thinking there might be too much Sacred Flame dice in here. A lot. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the cores. Let's see, I thought I saw another couple more. 6, 7. Oof. 7 extra dice here. We'll see how that goes here. So there's some fun stuff in here. Some things that are they also are adding a second tree, Radiant Servant, which will replace the Vanguard tree. So it's basically the Radiant Servant tree that will instead be cleric level instead of paladin level. So that could be pretty fun. So kind of, some interesting things here. Some things that came back, looking at some of the trees, like how you can spend key was really kind of the big theme of the feedback. So Sacred Whirlwind and Exalted Whirlwind, some of the abilities will now cost key. They will also provide a small light and fire debuff to better synergize with new spells. which they are going to look at adding new key spells to the spellbook for greater increased utility and allow for better active key spending. So think of it. I think the idea here would be kind of similar to the druid spells for in the animal forms. So that's kind of what they're looking at. They're a combination of short duration, quick activation, personal buffs, and explosive key fire attacks. Also, they're going to boost hand reps across the board for everyone. So the feat Swords to Plowshares will now provide hand reps a +1 morale bonus to threat range. So of the three, Sacred Fist might be the one I'm most interested in playing. Now, the thing about Sacred Flame Paladin here is you're not actually going to get the monk stance feats. So you won't get those by default. So that'll be something to think about here. The thing I'm really interested in here is like this. It's possible that this may end up being the kind of the better version of a monk tank. They won't have the. They have to take feats to get the monk stances and possibly also monk levels. If they're not allowed to take those, I would hope that this would allow them to take those feats, even if not auto granted. It could be interesting in that way. Being able to be in a defensive stance could be kind of nice. Yeah, I'm curious. I like my monk. I'm sort of curious. I will, as I'm leveling up my my monk coming up soon, I will probably play through some lives for this, just to kind of give it a roll. And I'm already gonna be a monk. Works for me. So yeah, looking forward to that. I think it'll be kind of fun to mess around with. Right, so there's the archetypes in the news. Again, we'll kind of come back probably later and kind of do a little more deep dive, maybe get some people who are better at building than I am, and kind of talk about what's here with some of these different ones. Early feedback though seems to kind of be around this. Okay, this is neat. Not sure that it doesn't seem like they're gonna drastically change the meta, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think if one of these came out and everyone was suddenly running them, that would not be the best thing. Let's see. Bonus days. 50% crafting XP boost now through August 14th. Ride to Glory is the sale this week. 30% off of select mounts, Mirrors of Glamoring and Glamour Weapon Auras. Keep on the Borderlands bonus items and the White Plume Mountain bonus items. I recommend the White Plume Mountain ones. If for another reason that you get some sentient XP on every server. Including the hardcore server every season. Just saying. The coupon for the week. 5 free long-lasting cats agility potions. The coupon code is agility buff. Alright, so that'll close out the show this week. Thanks for listening me rattle on about release notes and archetypes. Hopefully you found this informative and understandable. Sure, we'll see a couple more versions on Lamani, so you can go and check that out there as well. Thanks to all the folks who contribute to DDOCast and Sandstone Games, Wizards of the Coast, and to Cyberears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit us our website at DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com, or you can hit us up at DDOcast.com for our show notes, MP3s, the calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff, including Tomb of Annihilation, D&D Tabletop, and some DDO. We are streaming playing hardcore this season, because why not? If you have a comment on this episode, a question that you hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also follow us for latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter is the best place on social media. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.